Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MasterClass. Mr. Orchard, always good to see you, my friend.
Oh, you too, Brian.
You
It's
know,
great.
just another Monday evening talking about building and fixing airplanes.
Yeah, man. Right before Thanksgiving. It's going to be delicious.
You getting ready?
Oh,
You
yeah.
gonna you gonna have a big spread?
Yeah, you know me. I mean, I'm scientist brain, right? So the kitchen is my chemistry set now.
I'm interested to see what dessert Joshua texts me a picture of because he seems to do that on the holidays, and I'm like, man, I wish I was in Maryland right now.
Yeah, we kind of go out for desserts. Keeping it pretty simple for Thanksgiving, just doing a pumpkin pie and a chocolate cheesecake. Uh,
Nice,
all from scratch, of
love it.
course.
Paul Quinton says, Happy Thanksgiving, you all. Happy Thanksgiving
Indeed.
to all you guys and gals out there as well. We got Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Princeton, West Virginia, Mansfield, Ohio, Lancaster, PA,
Whew.
and a good evening somewhere in Ohio. Be sure to drop in the chat where you guys are tuning in from. I apologize. Last show, I forgot to give the dates for the next show. So I'm going to do that right now and at the end. So next stream will actually be next Monday, December 2nd.
Yes.
And then December 16th. And then we're off till January. But we're getting back on the normal bat time and bat channel for you folks. And yeah, so December 2nd and December 16th. If you guys aren't signed up for the email newsletter at Dubro, please do so because I usually send out an email every Monday we have the show. So that way it gives you guys a nice little reminder.
I got it. I mean,
So, but I know you've been hard at work, my friend.
I
You
have.
found some interesting things
I did.
while disassembling the Texan
Yeah.
and going to get ready for some new components to go in. So, not sure where you want to start tonight, but all I
Uh,
can say is it's going to be interesting.
yeah, it is for sure. So I feel like every restoration or refurbish project that I've ever undertaken, there's always at least one kind of gotcha,
Yeah,
and this one is without exception. Um, or sorry, not without exception, I should say. It definitely kind of threw me. However, I've worked through it, but we'll get there. I want to kind of wrap up things that I've done on the fuselage first, and
sure.
then we'll get to that gotcha that is on the wing.
Yeah.
Um, so we're not entirely finished with the fuselage. I kind of want to get into the fuselage next week,
Okay.
and we'll have a little bit of fun there. Um, I'm going to do something live on camera and really pray that I don't screw it up, because if I do, I'm in a world of hurt. Um, so tune in for next week while I try to remove the canopy from this model. So first things first, I'm going to angle my camera down here, and just so that you guys can sort of see where things are going. So this is some extra wires. This is for my Aileron connection. And as I mentioned last time, I've simplified the air connections. Before there was an air connection, two air connections, one for each side of the landing gear. But given that we're using this Robart Blue valve, which is not a necessarily proportioning valve, it's just sort of on and off. It's not a slow up or slow down. It's just on or off, air on or off. And so I've looped around and used T's, and I use these fittings that are called lure fittings, L-U-E-R, different from Dubro fishing
Yeah.
lures. All right, so these are typically used in the medical devices area. They are designed to interface with syringes. They're like a quick lock for syringes. But these have hose barbs on them, and you can get these from Amazon. These are 1/16 inch hose barbs. So there's a male and a female. And if I have to explain that, you need to go talk to your mommy and daddy. So we have a male and female, and the reason that I keep these connected all the time is because I actually had someone reach out to me either this week or last week. He was asking about Robart retracts, and he was having an issue with a nose gear. And what had happened was that the gear cylinder, the air cylinder, had seized on him. Now, there's a number of reasons for that, but the air cylinders are aluminum. Now, for those who don't know, aluminum does corrode. It does oxidize, etc. And inside there's an O-ring on that piston, and if you have it exposed to air, the lubricant, even though it's a PTFE lubricant, it can dry out, and it can cause the O-ring that's inside there to crack. Also, if you're exposing to fresh air over and over again, you're helping to accelerate, not necessarily accelerate, you're not helping things in the corrosion department on the inside of the cylinder. So his cylinder was seized, and so my best advice to him was to try to drop a little bit of oil in at a time to try to unseize the cylinder, so he didn't have to try to figure out how to pull the whole cylinder apart to replace the O-ring on the inside. So why I keep my connections using a Lure connector is because of that. I live in a very humid area, and this keeps my entire air system sealed. There's no change of air, there's no change of moisture, it all stays the same. And so that helps to protect the internals of the pneumatic system. Okay?
Got it. I just dropped a link to those from Amazon.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thanks for finding that, Brian.
Yep.
So yeah, that I needed to touch on that. In addition, I want to flip things over here, and we'll talk about two items. First, we're going to talk about the Dubro filling valve. Now, this is the large one. Brian, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the large fueling valve?
Let me pull up all the specs because I don't know them
Yeah,
all off the top of my head.
that's okay. We have how many hundreds of parts in the Dubro catalog?
Yeah, right.
We'll forgive you.
Da, 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 da.
So what's nice about this one, even though it's a little bit large, is that it does come with this plastic cap, and it just snaps pretty easily onto the end of it, and then you can just unsnap it for filling and emptying your fuel tank. And now obviously I have to connect all the tubing on the inside. However, there was an existing hole for one of these before, so I just went ahead and replaced this with a new one, and so we're ready to roll there.
So we have this both for glow fuel and gasoline only. So the glow fuel one is silver, gas is red, it's anodized red. It's designed to work with 530 seconds tubing. This will give you a higher volume of fuel to enter the carburetor and fill your fuel tank faster. You got to use the fueling probe valve to fill.
Correct.
And then what's nice too is, obviously fuels can break internal components down and stuff too. So we also offer a rebuild kit for that as well. So if you ever have, you let it sit for too long, one of the gaskets dries out something, or an O-ring cracks on you or something like that, we have the rebuild kit. Usually it takes a few years for that to happen down the road, depending on how well you take care of it and things like that. So
Yeah, Yeah.
But it makes fueling way easier.
Yes, yes, and it's a volume thing, right? Just
Yep,
because you've got a larger inner diameter on all the plumbing,
correct.
um, and and just so you know, I do have the original one, and this is what I was dealing with and why I wanted to replace it rather than rebuild it. So there are these additional pieces of brass tubing that were soldered in on these nipples.
Looks
I
like
didn't.
threaded couplers.
Uh, Maybe.
Okay.
It's not. It's actually it's
Oh, it's just straight tubing. Okay,
yeah, it's just straight tubing. I can't get it to focus for you being that close. But
got
yeah,
it.
it is just straight tubing soldered on here. So I didn't want a chance having any pinholes, and not to mention I lose the flow diameter from having a smaller inner diameter. So yeah, and then on top of that, my plastic cap broke, so it
Oh
doesn't
no.
stay there. I know. So that is why I wanted to replace that. But it does easily screw apart, um, and it's a pretty well serviceable piece of kit here. So
Yeah, and
uh,
that's for the glow fuel. That's skew 610. Gas is 611. But if you check that out on the website, we actually have a whole video on how to do the repair. So if you have an old one that's not working and you want to get it up running again, but also it gives you a good look at all the internals and how they operate as well.
yeah,
I'll drop
definitely
that link to that in the
definitely a good to know.
chat as well.
All right. So what else do we see in this location, Brian?
Hold on, I was grabbing the link.
Oh,
Oh, you got the cowl piece on.
yeah, this little scoop here. We talked about this last time, right?
Yep. Yeah, you
Yeah,
last time I think you shared that it was just 3D printed. It wasn't painted yet, and all that good stuff.
yeah, so I've got it painted and I got a nice clear coat on it, one that is going to be fuel proof. And I ended up getting a gloss one to match the gloss finish of the film covering. And then I went ahead and glued it on here. And I glued it on using this really cool new glue that I'm trying out here. It's from Deluxe Materials. It's called Fix and Flex. Um, it's a it's a really unique glue in that it's clear, but it's designed for bonding foam, plastic, metal, uh, wood, pretty much everything. But it's nice and flexible, and it grips really well too. But it's not really a silicone glue. Um, it can easily be cleaned up, and it has a drying formula too, like depending on how thick you apply it, because it is for gap filling as well. It's kind of goopy, but it's not slimy. It's hard to describe the consistency of it. It's not really pudding, um, but it's not really Jello
Runny
either.
like CA or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's not like CA. It's not runny at all. I mean, I can't here. This is open, and you can see it just kind of oozes out. It's just,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's kind of thick, um, but it works really, really well. Uh, so I am going to pick up the whole model. I'm supporting it on the tail end, but I'm going to pick up the whole model, and I'm shaking this. That's how well this glue holds on. That's just held on with glue. So because it's flexible glue too, it's going to withstand the vibrations of the engine, I'm hoping. At
Yeah.
least that's what I'm told from the guys at Deluxe Materials. So really, really impressed with this glue and this application.
That turned out really nice.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. On the other end of the model, see if I can bring this into focus. What do we see here?
Got the paint all matched up and clear
Yeah.
coated.
So we've got the rudder on here. And let me try to bring it back into frame. So
Yep.
the rudder is now painted, and you can see that the color matches pretty well. And I've covered it. And if you remember, I also used this cover grip from Deluxe Materials as well as an additional bonding agent for the covering. So I painted the wood with this and then applied the covering, and it's very, very well adhered. Should last a very long time with the Oratex on the tail. So in addition to that, what you kind of can't see is down in the hinge line here, I used Dubro pin hinges. The hinges that were on it were this old plastic material. So I believe it's a nylon material. It's very, very pliable. It doesn't seem like it was going to crack anytime soon, but they are replaced with Dubro hardware. So we're good. All right. Any questions?
I just dropped the link to the coverall in the chat, as well as the rebuild kit video and the hinges that Joshua used. Dave Petrie said, I have the rebuild kit to repair my fuel valve. It sticks open. I'm guessing it's about 15 years old. Yeah. It's due for a rebuild, and you want to clean that internal out real nice.
Yeah, probably best to use something like brake clean to clean everything out.
Yep.
That's part of inspection. When you have these fuel planes, you have to do your annual inspections. You just absolutely have to, and it'll reveal things like that you need to service.
Sure.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Any other questions about the fuselage before I move on?
I don't see anything else as of right now.
Okay, great. Super. All right, so I have the wing here. I have the wing taped off. I'll get to that in a minute, why the wing is taped off. But first, I want to flip this around and show you the aileron. So the aileron has been removed. It has had its covering removed. It has also been recovered with the Deluxe Material stuff and the Oratex, and it has been painted and clear coated, and it also reapplied the decals just like on the rudder. Replaced hinges again with Dubro hinges, and then on the underside, you can see where I've got fresh servos. These are high-tech servos. We went with the HS485HBs. These have carbonite gears, and they should do just fine in terms of torque and such for that. So everything is set for the aileron. Now, what I want to discuss about that before we move on, I need to get a prop. And not a propeller. I need to get something that I found inside of the wing. So here is a servo that I pulled out of the wing. The servo is connected to an extension that is made up of not one, not two, but 3 solder connections. Guys, don't do this. Okay, so solder, while it is a good thing to do, this is a failure point. And so you don't have 3 failure points, you now have 9 failure points. So just do your best to either buy extensions if you don't have the tools, or buy the tools. I got mine. I've got a crimp. I got mine off Amazon. It's a crimp tool that has multiple different gauges and a set of servo connectors, okay? And it's just these little plastic doodads, and you have a whole roll of either male or female, and you just crimp them on the end of your wire. Where do you get the wire? Well, you can get that too. I got a little bit of it. Okay. I bought 50 yards of it at one point. And it has served me very well. Worth the however much I paid for this, because it was super, super cheap. Less than $100, but this will last me for a very long time. And if you have the tools, you just make your own, and it saves you a lot of headache and a lot of time. So that is number one. You can make your own extensions, but please, please, please do not solder your connections for your extensions, okay? I used to do it. I'm not saying that I'm infallible here, but I don't anymore, because I have seen people lose planes because of that. So it's a safety thing, all right? So don't do this.
I just
don't.
found the kit, and I just found the kit. Drop that in the chat, and I apologize because YouTube limits you to how much is in each post, so you may have to copy and paste both. But to make 55 sets, servo plug, male female connector crimp, comes with a tool, wire, all that good stuff. It's $24.
Yeah. So think of how much you would spend on 50 servo extensions versus that kit.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I'm saying. If you're really penny pinching, this is actually the cheaper way to do it, and you get a safer product in the end every time.
Yep.
So, questions, comments, anything?
We got a couple guys that just joined in. Dave,
oh, hey guys.
Petrie. Yeah, definitely watch that video, because it's very in depth for rebuilding that fueling valve. And Ed Bojan, a gentleman that worked here for many years, does the run through of it, and it'll make your life a lot easier when you're going to rebuild that valve.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We ready to move on? Do we need a trivia question?
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. It's Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It's Thanksgiving. You got one, or you want me to go?
Sure, I can do one.
Okay.
Why is the Texan called the Texan?
Why is the Texan called the Texan?
Yep. Remember, it was manufactured by North American Aviation.
We'll give a set of wheels away for this one.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Which wheels? Anything they want, or?
Anything besides the large treaded scale wheels and the vintage wheels.
Okay.
Anything below that.
Okay.
Or I can give you one of the large treaded scale wheels, and you can purchase the other one. How about that?
Okay, that's a good deal. Why did they call the Texan
T6 the Texan?
Yeah. Why did they call it the Texan? There is a reason. Now remember, in Canada, it was called the Harvard, right?
Says named after the Dallas, Texas production facility of North American Aviation.
That is
Paul,
correct, sir.
congratulations. You got some new rubber, my friend. Or foam.
Nice.
Or foam.
Or foam. Or
Or
foam.
foam.
These ones are foam. These ones are foam.
Shoot me
So,
an email, orders@dubro.com, and let me know what kind of tires you would like, my friend.
sweet. Okay. So, we're going to dig into more problems. So this landing gear, everything was fine. I had a wheel, I had a strut, I had a retract, I had everything. It was great. This side, I had a retract, had none of this. I didn't have an Aleo, I did not have a wheel, and I did not have a screw for the axle. So I got to work this week trying to get this all sorted out, and what I ended up pulling out of the wing consisted of that. Okay, so what I'm going to outline is, this tubing is actually fine, perfectly good for reuse. The problem is that we're running into the same issue again. Okay, so these lines had extensions. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so there was a break in the line, and then these two nippled portions. Okay, again, failure points.
Yep.
Failure points. This isn't one failure point. This tube connects to the barb, and this tube connects to the barb. This is two failure points. Two leak points. These are not spring air retracts. They're either going to be up or they're going to be down, or you're going to have a bad day. Okay, so I took all of it out. I ran fresh line and did away with all of this. In addition, I did my lure fittings so that everything lines up. And again, what I do is I keep it sealed like this, right? But what this allows me to do is I don't have to think about, well, which side goes to which side. It's always going to be the same if you have a male and a female. Okay, if you have a male and a female, it's only going to go to the male and the female fitting on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So you never have to think about or color coordinate anything with these fittings. So that is nice. And then again, I eliminated all of the extra tubing for the up part and the down part, and it's just got a T fitting in there. Again, this is a failure point. However, it's an accepted risk that we have because we have to do this. There is no other way. Okay?
Makes sense.
So, going back to the underside, so we talked previously about our friends who have taken on the new Robart line.
Yep.
And so that is how we were able to get the replacement Oleo strut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I want to point out, we were their very first customer after they transferred.
well, yeah, technically we were.
We were excited about that.
We were. So we got a brand new Oleo, and so this consists of essentially three separate pieces. You've got the upper piece and the lower piece, and then there is the linkage. Okay, and so we have placed an order for each of the three. And to be fair, these were old stock that were already made, and they pulled them out of bins and put them in a bag and shipped them to me. So it's great. Got it assembled. What it did not come with, what they did not have, was the axles and springs. So I had to go to McMaster-Carr. I got out my digital dial calipers, and based off of the spring on the inside of this one, I was able to size a spring, have it shipped to me from McMaster-Carr, and when it showed up, I cut it to, actually, because I didn't know if it was going to match the same spring rate, I ordered enough spring for both of these so that they would both have the same spring rate, because I didn't want to chance that. So I'm using marine grade grease on the struts. I use marine grade instead of like a lithium grease because it's a little, well, it's designed to withstand water situations, and you're going to encounter wet grass and stuff. And again, this is a service item. You're going to want to re-grease and check for rust and stuff over the years. So that being said, I did polish the strut over here, had a little bit of corrosion on it, so I cleaned that up, re-greased everything, and reassembled with fresh springs. And then McMaster-Carr was able to find some suitable bolts that are smooth, and then have a piece that threads into the strut itself. Got really nice rolling resistance. And then the tire. So we talked a little bit about this. The tire formulation has changed a little bit from the original formulation, has it not, Brian?
Yes, it did because of some EPA regulations. So it has changed slightly over the years.
Right. So when you feel how soft or stiff these tires are, if you compare old ones to new ones, the old ones are a little bit softer, and that's not a bad thing per se, but in order to try to keep this as authentic as possible, I did want to keep the original tire, and I happened to find one in my stash that was the same size and the same formulation. So we're going OG on this. We've got two original tires, and because of the bolt design from McMaster-Carr not being exactly the same as the Robart ones, I had to 3D print an ABS spacer in here to space the tire a little bit so that it didn't have any play in it, because that would make the plane wander. So that's the assembly. So what else did I find that is the gotcha? Well, this retract, as I said before, we were missing this strut. As I took out these screws and tried to remove the whole retract unit to service it, because I wanted to clean it, I wanted to lubricate everything and inspect it. First and foremost, this wood mount, this beam, was broken. It was broken off, like had already been broken. And the way that it looked like it had been broken was from front to rear. That's clue number one. If anything breaks front to rear, it means that it was landing related, likely. Then after I had been installing this with some fresh 30-minute epoxy and was reassembling everything, I found out that this steel frame was actually slightly twisted to the point where the person who tried to make the repair didn't know that you could twist it back a little bit, because this is a steel frame. So they had shimmed underneath one side with these like 1/64th ply shims, and just kept adding shims until it matched. So then when I had originally looked at, I was like, okay, well, they had the shims, and I'll just put the shims back. And that's when I realized things were twisted a little bit, because when the gear were up, this gear looked so wrong. It was just all wonky and did not look symmetrical at all. And that was the clue. And I went back and I started looking at things, why I needed the shims. And it was because this frame was bent. So I was able to take it out, bend it back, because it was just a matter of twisting a little bit. And so now everything is straight, everything is true, everything is tightened up, torqued, and ready to go. Additionally, I want to point out on the inside, cable management is a thing inside your models, and so is tubing management. So inside, in order to keep the tubes, the pneumatic tubes, out of the way of the retracts, it's hard to see. Okay, these
There you
white
go.
things. Yeah, these white things down in here.
Yep.
Those are electrical keepers designed to nail into wood. And I have a number of these because you can take the plastic and sort of hog them out to whatever shape that you need, and you could hold things. And in this case, I could hold 2 of these tubes easily after I wallowed them out a little bit and added a dome, a button head screw, a Dubro button head screw, and screwed it directly into this piece of wood, and it holds everything neatly out of the way and will not interfere with the wheel at all. In the retracted position, it's not going to hang up on anything because that, again, would be a bad day. All right?
So I'm going to see if you know this question, because I actually know an answer for once. Does the gas fuel fill fitting okay with diesel?
Oh,
Or
that
should
I
he
have.
use or should he use the glow version?
I actually do not know the answer to that, Brian.
It would be the glow version.
Really?
Yes.
Give me a big fat why.
Just because they're very similar fuel types versus the gasoline, which
Okay.
has some ethanol. So it's actually part of the internals, the plastics. One will withstand the chemicals versus the other.
Got it.
And then Suter family said, "Wait, who took over for Robart?" And it is High Vis RC. So Larry and Jordan Peterson, part of the hobby for many years. They have a machining business. So they bought all the rights to make the Robart struts and retracts. They're getting everything up and running, but they're expecting to start accepting orders by the end of this year into early 2025. But
Yeah.
High Vis RC did put out an announcement that they have taken over the Robart struts and retracts, and they're going to get them up and running again, putting them out, and you guys can start getting retracts again.
Yeah. Now the wheels will still be offered through the Robart website, as I understand.
Correct. Robart will still do Zap adhesives, the wheels, I believe some of their hinges and things like that that they make. But
Yep.
yes, let me see if I can find their website. Let's see. I will look for that in the meantime.
Okay. Well, I am going to take a minute here and see if anybody else has any questions about what I've done. I understand that some people may not be familiar with pneumatic retracts. So if you have any specific questions about them, it's a great opportunity for us to stop while we're on the subject. Some people are only familiar with the more modern electric retracts. I have a friend who's tried the Robart electric retracts, and he did not have a very good experience with those. I'm actually putting together my own video for my YouTube channel about my current frustration with electric retracts. I'm going to post a video on Wednesday, so yeah, look for that drop. But it's kind of a nightmare. But yeah, the idea behind pneumatic retracts is not new, but it may be new for some of the people coming to this class.
Got it. I just posted the link to their website. It's still not open, so it's still under construction. But they also have a Facebook page, and I just posted that as well, so you guys can go follow them there. I'm sure they'll announce when the website's open and they're starting to accept orders.
Yeah, if you're not a member of the Balsa Builders Association on Facebook. It's a great group to belong to. Uh, they post a lot of really cool builds as well as industry news. So
Mhm.
that way you can keep current with status of different companies or new kits from different companies or things like that. It's really quite useful to help keep yourself informed in the hobby. And we get paid nothing for that advertisement. Sorry, Brian.
That's all right. We're just helping everybody out. That's what we're here for.
Right, right. I'm a giver.
I
Okay,
was
so,
actually talking to RJ via email today,
oh
and
yeah?
yeah, we're working on a top secret project.
Ooh, you'll have to give me deets after the show.
I'll think about it.
Oh, come on.
That's how I get paid.
What a pal.
I'm just
Jeez.
I'm
Okay.
just kidding. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I like dropping the links because I always get emails and stuff. Guys are like, "What was that
Yeah,
thing Joshua was talking about?" So I always try to put the
yeah.
links in the chat for you guys. So if there's something that Joshua ever mentions in any of these classes and you need a link and I don't post it, just say, "Hey Brian, wake up," and I'll get it in the chat for you guys. I apologize. I'm actually here. I am a human being. I'm not a robot. I'm just in the background working, but I try to get all these links for you guys because I know how frustrating it is when you're like, what was he talking about? I
Yeah,
know there was something.
yeah,
And what's
yeah,
nice
for
is
sure.
that chat's always there, so you can go back and rewind in the show, find it, and look up the parts and stuff you need.
Yep,
Yep.
hands down, love it.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Nice to see your beautiful face. All right, so moving on. We're going to go back to the wing, and I'm going to explain why this is taped off. Now, the first thing you might, well, you can't really see it because there's a big fat reflection because of the lighting in my shop. Okay, so now you can see it, this big white spot, okay? Brian, do you know what this white spot is? Can you tell? I mean, it's just a white spot. Well, it's a place where the paint has chipped off. So I can actually demonstrate for you right now. Uh, the paint chips off pretty easily, and that's a problem. So with all of these fun little pieces of yellow paint now flaking off, I have to strip the paint off of this. And so the reason that I have this taped off is because there's a little bit of overlap here with the film covering, where the paint was painted over the seam onto the film covering. So when I put down the paint stripper from Deluxe Materials, I won't have it fully exposed to all of this area. So it'll be more localized, right? So the idea is to strip off all of this paint and try to smooth some of this out. Now, there are a couple of problematic areas that I want to point out to you. Number one is this location here. So there are a couple of problem points. Let me get this angled right without spilling anything over here.
So I apologize, Josh. I took myself out of the studio instead of going in solo mode, but
Oh, whoops.
I did say paint chip.
Yeah,
Um,
no
but
worries.
Suitor family's asking, is that paint over a glassed area?
Good question. No, it's a paint over a plastic molded piece that is part of the construction of the wing. So because you're using retracts here, this area here is hollow, and so there's a wheel underneath here. And so this whole section here is a piece of molded plastic. So the way that this was clearly not painted was without a primer, and certainly without any sort of mechanical adhesion promotion as well. So obviously I need to strip all of the paint off. I need to fix all the blemish. There's a little blemish here that I want to address and sand that back and maybe do some fill there. But get this surface as nice as I can. Rough it up. I'm going to use some 220 grit at least sandpaper and just rough it up. And then I will shoot a white primer. Why white? Do you know, Brian?
Yeah, because yellow would be easier to cover over the lighter color.
Correct. Thank you. So yes, a white primer for the yellow, and we'll do several coats of the yellow. I'll mask off everything around this and just focus on this area. There will be a yellow seam. There's just going to be one, but there is one anyway. So you can tell that this yellow is different from this just because of how the paint has aged versus the film covering. Okay, so it's not like we're taking any advanced step other than making sure that we have a better paint adhesion over here. So paint, and then obviously we've got the clear coat that has to go here too. And then just to get back to where I was also going, this problematic area here. So there is a lip where the plastic meets the film covering. See that lip?
Mm-hmm.
I want to blend that, and so I'm probably going to use some micro balloons from our friends also at Deluxe Materials. Use some micro balloons, maybe some epoxy to fill in there, and we'll try to sand that to blend it in. And then there's a crack here too that I want to try to repair, a crack in that plastic. And so I'll try to address those points because those are just wear items, but it's the same on both sides. On this side, you've got the same lip here that should be a smooth transition that is not, and this seam here that is clearly cracking, and so I want to address those. All right.
That's from when that hot landing happened, correct?
I think it's just wear over time, those cracks, because it's plastic and not necessarily a fiberglass part.
Sure.
If it were from the landing in really something, the landing would have a much longer crack involved, and this is really just at the surface. I would call it hanger rash, if I'm honest. It's nothing major. I want to address it since we're stripping all the paint off anyway. It makes sense to do it while we're in there.
Love it.
All right, so that's stuff that I can't really do in the course of an hour because that's like time intensive stuff. So I can report back on this stuff as I do it. If you guys have questions about this, feel free to ask them. And certainly when we come back and you see the finished product, I hope that you have something to compare to. I just created a new paint chip spot. I mean, seriously, this paint is just like you stare at it wrong and it just chips right off. All right. I have one more thing to cover. Do you have a trivia question for tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I dropped the link to Deluxe Materials in the chat. I know Tower, Horizon, and I believe A-Main also Deluxe Materials. So if any of that stuff is something that could be utilized on one of your projects, I know it's available there versus shipping it over from the UK, which could be a little costly.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got model light that I'm going to try to play with on those to help with those areas, as well as these micro balloons. So they have really good stuff. Check them out. Try them at the very least. You can't say that you don't like a product until you actually use it. So try them.
Like it.
So far, I'm enjoying trying them at the very least, and I'm very pleased with the other stuff. So this is the stripper that they provided. The instructions are pretty straightforward. Fast-acting, spreadable, and controllable paint stripper that will soften, remove paints and primers, typically 5 to 15 minutes, according to paint type. Mm-hmm. So I will monitor it, and I don't want to be distracted and ruin anything. so I don't want to do that on film.
All right,
All right.
so we're heading into winter. So let's do a Dubro hoodie.
Yeah.
And if you've been following the MasterClass, you'll be able to answer this question. In episode 2, we made Joshua look like whom?
Again? Really? You bring this up again?
Well, I forgot to load the thumbnail for tonight, so this is still in there. So, I mean, it's only suiting.
Oh, brother.
Dave Petrie got it right on the head. Mr. Clean. Cleaning tips from Joshua Orchard. Dave,
Nice.
Email me orders@dubro.com with your sweatshirt size, and we'll get that out to you, bud. Everybody's coming in, Mr. Clean. So you remembered. Suitor family said, be very careful of using a chemical stripper over plastic.
Yep. And again, that's why I want to do it off camera so that I have all my PPE. I've got nitrile gloves. I have a respirator, not just a filtering respirator, but like a chemical respirator, one that like covers my eyeballs and everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a deal. Yes, thank you for the reminder. Chemicals are real. They will kill you. It's a thing. All right. So this is the last thing for tonight. This is the cowl, obviously. We have a little piece that's been trimmed out here for the muffler. But what you don't see is the inside. So the inside is a patchwork mess of cracks and flaws, and there is a big crack here that I was thinking I would have to replace as well. You can see me open that crack a little bit just by flexing. In addition to that, there's some scuffs, and the discoloration is real on this thing. So that means I'd have to sand all of this back and then repaint it. And this is plastic. It's not very resilient. It's not going to hold up very well, especially around the vibrations of an engine. So, Fiberglass Specialties, thank you so much, Dynamic RC. I'm pretty sure it's Dynamic RC that shouted out Fiberglass Specialties. They still make cowls for this. So I ordered one. It's all $33. Comes very nicely done. But as you can see, there's some work yet to be done. I have to cut the front out. Now, you can paint this straight as is. I won't. There are a couple of flaws. One of the things that I typically do is I do a very, very rough sanding. I can't even find it on my shelf. It's buried somewhere. Anyway, I use a body spackle, like a Bondo spackling putty. It's red, and I fill in pinholes that are revealed, and I can actually see a couple of small pinholes right around the leading lip. I probably can't even see that on camera. It's really hard to see, but I'll sand that out and I'll fill it with that putty and then sand that back so it's nice and smooth. And then I'll do that with the whole cowl. There's a number of little imperfections here and there that I want to get this cowl right before I shoot paint on it. So it's going to be a process. This isn't something that is quick, but it's a lot easier than trying to use this.
Yeah.
And this is fiberglass.
So Suitor family elaborated a little bit more. He said he wasn't only referring to personal safety, but styrene-based plastics like ABS, HIPS, PS, PC, ABS, and others will soften and craze with most strippers that are capable of softening a cure paint.
Yep.
He said the plastic nerd in me is struggling to come out. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No, and he is totally right, because I know, obviously we deal with quite a bit of plastics here, so I totally understand where he's coming from on that.
Yeah, and he was a chemical engineer. He's a retired chemical engineer, so he knows what he's talking about, and I appreciate that. So, like anything that you try that's new, anything that you don't know is compatible, like always, you try a small patch.
Yep.
And if there's something going on, you stop.
Yeah.
And you find something else, right? I had assumed that, but I guess it bears repeating.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, but moving back to the cowl, the cowl will require some work. It will be messy. Most of it's just elbow grease. It's nothing too terribly complicated. It's just time and labor. And I think it's going to be great when it's done. And I think we're going to be very pleased with the outcome of that. I'll make sure that I trace this cutout and I'll transfer it to this cowl, and I'll able to show you guys how to locate these holes. It's actually really easy. Some people struggle with this, like how do you locate pre-existing holes on a cowl from the backside because you can't see. Piece of cardstock, best thing I could tell you. I'll explain it when I go and do it. It's really quite easy. But yeah, cowl is here. It's going to make its way onto the model, and it's going to be great.
Love it. Peter, happy Thanksgiving to you as well, my friend.
Yeah. So that's all I have prepared for tonight, Brian.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Do you have any questions about anything that I've done or anything I'm going to do?
I want to know, have you figured out, because right now the cockpit is empty. I know we have some things going in there, but have you picked out a pilot yet?
Oh, there's two figurines in there already.
I thought there was none.
No, there are two figurines inside.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm thinking of.
And they're actually painted quite nicely, so I'm going to roll with them.
I apologize. I forgot. I was thinking about the Breitling here.
No, that's fine. What I really need to do is I need to address, namely, if I can get it out of reflection, this paint chip.
Yep.
That paint chip needs to be addressed, as well as some other smaller chips here and there that are painted on the inside. So I have to remove this and apply some masking. I'll explain that. In addition, we have, again, the instrument panel specifically for this model from my buddy Logan, who just happened to have it laying around in a box that he picked up at a flea market or something. So they definitely have some work to do in the cockpit.
All right, you're getting thrown into the ringer here.
Ooh, yeah?
Suitor family's hitting you with some trivia.
Okay.
Which position is the trainer and which position is the trainee?
So if I'm not mistaken, the trainer is in the back and the trainee is in the front. And the reason for that is because trying to get the trainee to do things that they would do in cockpit from a simulated position, including gun strafing runs on ground targets, as well as sighting in the air. There were a number of different training maneuvers that they had to do, and so in order to accomplish that, they had to be in the front.
So what do we want, Suitor family? I'm just kidding.
I know, right? What are you sending me? Do I get a Suitor family t-shirt?
I was trying to collect a prize, bud. No, I'm kidding. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, definitely a good question.
No, excellent stuff. Yeah, we're right at the hour mark, so that was perfect. So again, because I'm going to say, he said the check's in the mail. I'm going to say it again so I don't forget before we sign off. Next show will be next Monday, December 2nd, and then December 16th, and then we're back January 11th, if my eyeballs are working correctly, because my marker board's over there. But December 2nd, December 16th, if you guys aren't signed up for the email list, do so at dubro.com, and we'll get you signed up. So we do have a question from Rick Rader. He said, can you explain how micro balloons work?
Sure. So micro balloons are technically micro glass spheres. Not something you want to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But it's really quite clever. The idea is that they're kind of crushable. So, for example, you can mix up micro balloons and epoxy. Epoxy is normally very, very difficult to sand after it cures. It's very hard, and it can be very labor intensive. But if you mix it up with micro balloons, super easy, but it also stays nice and firm as well. So it's really helpful for doing like fillets, right? Like trying to blend things together, like the lip that I described. That being said, you could also, the way that I've also used it is you can mix up micro balloons with water-based polyurethane or sanding sealer. It's like a more concentrated version of water-based polyurethane. And you mix that stuff up to like almost the consistency of like a diluted toothpaste, or maybe even like corn syrup. And then you can lay that over top of like a fine weave of fiberglass. What that does is it helps to fill in the weave, and then you can come back and sand all the excess off, leaving a nice smooth finish, and then do a final seal coat of water-based polyurethane or sanding sealer to toughen it all up. And then you can do primer, paint, and it looks nothing like fiberglass. And I've done this on wood as well as on foam, and it worked great. It creates a nice impenetrable surface. So if you're using like an acetone paint, like rattle cans or something, it's not going to melt foam or any sort of foam substrate that's behind it. Now that's assuming that you've done a good job sealing everything. So obviously layers are your friend, but that's sort of micro balloons in a nutshell. They're just tiny micro glass spheres that you can sand and use with the idea is to make them light and sandable when you apply them.
I just dropped a link to that product on Tower Hobbies, and they have a video on there that you can go and they kind of go into depth on the whole micro balloons process. Yeah.
I mean, you can pick up a lot of different types of micro balloons. Like here's a stash that I keep in my shop. Again, picked up off Amazon. I've had this supply for 2-3 years. Yeah. But I mean, some people prefer different brands because there are different diameters of the spheres, and so the way that will sand and interact with whatever substrate that you use can vary, right? Size matters in a lot of small applications like this. So yeah, like I said, you can't knock a product until you try it and figure out how it works for you.
Nice, like it. Anything else, my man?
I'm good. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Go cook something. Be helpful. Don't just sit around like a lump. I understand that there are games and parades and other stuff, but be helpful and show your family that you care. We don't need dirtbags reporting back here next week, okay? Just saying.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I on behalf of Dubro and everybody here, we'd like to wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you get to spend some time with family and friends and eat plenty. Bring a side or a dessert. Or come to my house and cook for me, and I'll appreciate that very much.
On my way, Brian.
Joshua, I'm going to buy you a ticket to Chicago. Suter family said I'm taking bologna sandwiches to my brother's house. I love it. Rob C said, "Happy Thanksgiving, Josh. Go fly the Chaos 60."
You know, I'm going to do it as soon as I can. When the weather cooperates, I'm going to be out at that field again. It's a
I
lot of
love it.
fun.
Love it. Love it. All right, guys, gals, we'll see you December 2nd and then again on the 16th, and then a nice little holiday break. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We will see you same bat